echoing cuckoo has called us back. Call us back to Kids Book Read Aloud, S.C. Crovo, Magic of Nicholas. Welcome back. I'm S.C. Crovo, author, creator of the incredible Magical Families of Nicholas. And also, happy Thanksgiving. This is a special day. I hope you're enjoying some delicious turkey and mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes and all of your wonderful traditions that you enjoy on Thanksgiving. And don't worry about being too full, because guess what? You'll have plenty of leftovers. So I hope you are enjoying that. Now, last week we finished Masters of Nicholas and Target Earth, all 7 chapters. If you haven't seen all the chapters, please head back to my channel and you can get caught up. But this week is going to be a special week because we're going to be reading a story from the Magical Nicholas Short Story Club and more. Now, I've mentioned this to you every week. It's at my website, scrovo.com, and it's free to join. And when you join and subscribe, you get free stories delivered right to your email that are new and different about the magical families of Nicholas. So it's a great opportunity to learn even more about these incredible magical families. So that's what we're going to do today. So I still need my Dolly because she is the keeper of the key. Thank you, Dolly. Because I like my own little bit of magic. So let me just place my key here. And also, we have to remember Cole here. He's our resident Kelv. He's very excited about hearing the story as well. Now, it's a little different this week because I'm going to be reading it from a paper like this. And this is how you would receive it in your email. And if you printed it up directly from your email from the club. So the story that I chose this week is called Netae Sredavni. And you're probably wondering, what does Netae Sredavni mean? And I think you're about to find out. So let's get started. Many months passed, and Tommy and Kam had tried just about all of the classes in Sandkells. They were bored and wondered what to do next. The doors to the Sandkells library were wide open and welcoming. The walls inside were painted a merry color of sky blue and wrapped around dozens and dozens of bookcases. Every children's book ever written stood in attention on the shelves waiting to be read. Plump chairs ready for readers were scattered about, and a warm fire danced over crackling coals. A long wooden table laden with trays of cookies and pitchers of hot cocoa sent a mesmerizing scent throughout the room. Tommy and Kam entered the library but went past the children's books and even past the cookies and cocoa. Most unusual. They had a specific destination in mind. It's at the very back. Tommy took the lead and Kam followed. They arrived at a line of shelves seldom visited by anyone of their age. It was rather dark, and the books and papers on the shelves scattered a cloud of dust as soon as they were touched. This was the section that held documents, maps, and other materials of historical importance. Let's split up, Tom directed Kam to the right while he moved to the left. Some time passed as they searched for the specific item they wanted. They searched quietly, except for a few unavoidable dust-induced sneezes. "Here it is!" Kam shouted from the end of the shelf. "Shh!" Tommy held his finger to his lips. "This way!" Kam nodded, grabbed the papers, and quickly joined Tommy. They walked casually to one of the many tables in the room while their hearts were beating wildly. The adventure was beginning. "These are the maps of Sandkells." Tommy unfolded the bound paper. "See?" He shot his finger and landed it with the accuracy of a dart. "That's the greeting chamber, and there's the throne room. He continued flipping through each page to reveal more of the mapping of sandcastles. I don't recognize that place. Kam tilted his head with confusion. Tommy stopped turning the pages and rubbed his hands together happily. It's where we're going for our secret exploration today. But Kam looked closer at the darkened area on the map. It reads, "Do not enter," in bright red letters. I like bright red letters, but not when they say that. Come on, Kam. Tommy pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and reached for a pencil on the table. Who wants to go where you can go? It's much more fun to go where you can't. Now, Tommy began to draw a map. We're here. The map was quickly completed. The large maps of sandcastles were returned to the shelves. Tommy blew on the papers next to the maps and smiled as a fresh burst of dust landed, covering the returned items as if nothing had been disturbed. How'd you learn how to do that? Kam asked, moving towards the doors. He slowed just long enough to grab a handful of cookies. He doubted this do not enter place would have any food. Read it in a kid's detective book. Tommy took the cookie offered to him as they cleared the doors and entered the hallway. Follow me. Tommy kept his map in hand as they entered the greeting chamber, walked past the seedling of the snow noble fir, and disappeared down a hallway. One hallway led to another, but Tommy kept track using the directions on his map. They were heading in the right direction. This is it. Tommy marched forward. The last hallway. Kam's steps slowed as he looked around. This hallway wasn't like any of the others. The ground was uneven and dirty. The walls were gray and unpolished. And the light. There was enough to see, but just barely. Tommy continued walking, but stopped suddenly. They had arrived at a dead end. Look at those bars. Kam let his eyes follow the chiseled bars that blocked the opening from the top to the bottom. And what's that sign say? It spells... Tommy squinted at the sign and then rubbed his eyes with confusion. Netae Sredavni. What does it mean? Kam asked, mouthing the letters without understanding them. No idea. Tommy stuck his head through the bars and Kam joined him. They could barely see because it was so dark. It looks like a forest. Tommy twisted his head from side to side. A smelly forest. Kam wrinkled his nose. We can squeeze through these bars if you want to. Tommy bobbed his head up and down rapidly. But before we do, Kam stood back, pulled his Kelcom from his pocket, and snapped a picture of the sign. We better have a picture of this in case it's a password or something. Let's go. The boys held their breath, thinned their bodies as much as possible, and barely slid through the bars like a seed from its skin. They stopped for a moment to let their eyes adjust. It was still dim, but they did appear to be standing in some type of forest. Slowly, with their arms stretched out in front of them to guide the way, they stepped cautiously forward. It didn't work, as Kam promptly walked into the trunk of a large tree. Losing his balance, he fell backwards and landed with a thud. Ouch! He yelled out. Tommy moved to help Kam, but it was too late. Before Kam could get to his feet, both boys lost their footing and were now suspended upside down, held firmly by their feet. Whatever held them began moving as they were carried through the dense forest. Let us go! Tommy swung his arms out at his captor but couldn't reach. He didn't know what had them. The only thing he could see was a large, hairy, clawed foot that kept moving forward. Kam and Tommy swung side to side until finally their captor stopped walking. Without a word, their hold was released and they landed on the soft grass below. They jumped to their feet and looked around. A circle of trees surrounded them. The enormous branches joined and entangled like a prison. The boys grabbed hold of each other protectively. They were not alone. "What are they?" Tommy whispered. The creatures that stood staring at them varied in height and size. The smallest were the height of children, and the tallest towered above them like giants. Their appearance, though, was the same. They had clawed feet, fuzzy golden brown hair that covered most of their bodies, and golden eyes that glowed and glared at them. "They're trolls," Kam whispered back, tightening his hold on Tommy's arm. "We're in big trouble." The boys were pushed forward until they stood before a medium-sized troll. She sat in an oversized chair woven from tree branches. A crown made from tree bark rested on her head. "I am Tonel," she glared down at them, "keeper of this troll ring in the Gray Mountain." Tommy was terrified. He could almost feel the heat from her glowing eyes. "Why have you invaded our domain?" The boys stood frozen. They didn't know what to say. "Why did you not heed the warning?" Tonel demanded. We didn't see," Kam felt his voice answer at a squeaky high pitch. "We didn't see any warning, ma'am." The sign, she shouted, rising in her seat. "I think she means those weird words," Tommy poked at Kam. "Get it on your Kelcom, quick." Kam pulled out his Kelcom, tapped a few times, and the sign appeared on the screen. "I still don't know what it means, Tommy." "Hit the translator." Tommy shook Kam's arm so hard he almost dropped the Kelcom. Kam tapped a few more times, read what appeared, and turned the screen to show Tommy. "Invaders eaten! We didn't know Netae Sredavni meant invaders eaten," the boys shouted together. "We don't want to be eaten," they wailed pathetically. Tonel sat down in her seat and leaned towards the attendant who stood at her side. "Send a wind whisper to Santa Nicholas," she instructed. "He is needed here, immediately." The attendant scurried to an object nearby. A polished branch rose from the ground almost 10 feet high, with a set of spiral steps wrapped around it. He sprinted up the stairs to the top where a strange contraption was attached to the branch. It looked like a cross between an enormous pine and a conch shell. The attendant blew into it, stopping and starting in intervals. "Did you hear anything?" Kam whispered to Tommy, sniffling. "I didn't, but I sure hope Santa Nicholas did." Santa Nicholas was alone in the sleigh room of Sandcows. He sat in a red wooden sled with the leather reins in his hands. He had been practicing for quite some time. While he had gotten better at handling the sleigh pulled by the killdeer, he had not mastered it, not yet. A burst of wind suddenly ruffled his beard and tickled his ear. He sat still and listened. "There's trouble." Santa dropped the reins, jumped from the sleigh, and hurried from the room. Santa walked swiftly, guided by a caravan of trolls. He approached Tonel, bowed respectfully, and then turned to face Tommy and Kam. "You boys know this area is strictly forbidden." Santa shook his finger at them sternly. "Why would you have broken the rules?" We were just on an adventure, Santa Nicholas," Tommy sniffled. And we couldn't read the sign," Kam added, sniffling as well. "The sign has nothing to do with it," Santa continued. "You shouldn't have been anywhere near that sign." "You have our apologies, Tonel." He turned and bowed once more. "I'm afraid the word of your location will get out now." A stern, cybrid glance was directed to the boys. The troll is out of the cave, one might say," he finished with a chuckle, but received no laughter in return. What," Santa cleared his throat, "are your wishes?" "I wish," Tonel first looked at Santa Nicholas and then at the boys. "I wish to eat. I'm hungry." "No, Santa Nicholas, no! Run!" the boys yelled and pulled frantically at his sleeves. "They're going to eat us!" Tonel laughed for the first time, stood and motioned for all to follow. Santa Nicholas joined her and walked by her side. The smaller trolls, feeling less threatened, joined hands with the boys to guide them. They're not so bad, really. Tommy gazed down at his troll companions. Right now they're not. Kam leaned toward Tommy. But don't forget the sign. They soon arrived at a large table covered with trays of cookies, brown and flat. The cookies were cut in the shapes of leaves. Kam's spirits rose as he rushed to the table, grabbed a handful of cookies, and quickly popped 2 into his mouth. Hey, Kam chewed happily and stuffed 2 more cookies into his mouth. These are really good, and I'm a cookie expert. There's a taste in here, but I don't recognize it. What is it? Secret, a grumpy troll answered. He was about the same height as Kam and held a long wooden spoon with a stone in the center. Kam didn't ask any more questions. He grabbed another handful of cookies and ran with Tommy to Santa's side. Perhaps, Santa Nicholas addressed Tonell gently, it is time for our families to join together. You'd be most welcome, especially these. Santa held up the cookie in his hand. I have tasted none better. Perhaps, Tonell tipped her head forward and thought. Some might. Some are ready for their own ring. But where? Our Nicholas village and its surrounding forest have plenty of land. He cupped his hands together in offering. We would be happy to share. A new ring could be planted there and would be protected. You are kind to us, Santa Nicholas. She bowed her head slightly in his direction, and always have been. Tonell shifted her gaze toward Tommy and Kam. Our young invaders may have accomplished much. We may not eat them after all. Santa Nicholas and Tonell laughed. Kam didn't. He couldn't forget the sign. Netae Sredavni. That's the end of the story. Now you know what Netae Sredavni means. And this is the beginning of the relationship between the trolls and the magical families of Nicholas and also the Kells. So there are more now that have joined them on this amazing magical journey. As I said, there are more stories available on my website at scrovo.com. And when you join the Magical Nicholas Short Story Club and more. So this is one of 3 that apply to the Masters of Nicholas series. So I hope you enjoyed that. So what happens next week? Well, next week, we're going to step out of here a little bit and we're going to go into the kitchen because we're going to have a Magical Nicholas bake break. And we are going to make something that the Nicholases really, really enjoy. And I hope you will too. And also, it's that time of year when we start thinking about gifts. So I want you to remember that both Masters of Nicholas and Target Earth and Benjamin Nicholas and the Golden Key are both available on Amazon right now and make a great gift and a great stocking stuffer. So definitely want to take a look at that. So I hope you're having fun with this channel. I certainly am. I love reading to you. And if you are enjoying Kids Book Read Aloud, S.C. Crovo, Magic of Nicholas, please leave me a thumbs up below. And also don't forget to subscribe because that way you'll never ever miss a show. And until next week, when we head into the kitchen, the echoing cuckoo clock will call us, and that means it's time to return and to enjoy our next installment of our shows. Until then, make a wish and have a magical week. Bye for now.